It's ingrained in me. I can still do it. Okay, I think we have enough people to start. Do we?
Yeah, you've got it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, come to order, class. We just got out of control for 1 second there. All right, welcome to the evening version of Senate Finance. And would the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Cannizzaro, Senator Goycochea, Senator Harris, Senator Neal, Senator Wynn, Senator Severs-Ganser, Senator Titus, Chair Dondero Loop.
Here, and please mark Senator Goycochea and Senator Cannizzaro present when they arrive, and please mark Senator Titus absent, excused. Thank you very much. All right, before I start, I would just like to give the dial-in number for the meeting because it is different in the evening from this morning. When you get ready to provide public testimony, you will be dialing 888-475-4499. And when prompted, provide the meeting ID 860-7715-6135, then press pound, and when prompted for the participant ID, please press pound, and that is also printed on the agenda for the evening. With that, we are going to start at the bottom of the agenda tonight. We are going to start with Senate Bill 457, and we will be pulling Senate Bill 426. That will be moved to the Friday agenda. So Friday for Senate Bill 426, and we'll be starting with Senate Bill 457. We've played the fight song, we've done the fight song, and we are ready. I'm sorry, Mr. Flores, that you missed the fight song. We will repeat it at the end of the meeting. Go Rebels. And Dr. Khan, you are in Las Vegas, and Dr. Brooks, you are in Carson City. So please go ahead when you're ready. This is what happens when you wait all day.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Constance Brooks, and I proudly represent the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are in a grateful position, very full of gratitude. We want to thank first the governor for his commitment of $9.2 million to support the growth of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. And we also want to thank the Nevada System of Higher Education Board of Regents, who unanimously approved this be part of the overall INCHE budget as it moves through the biennial budgetary process. With me today to help present the bill and to respond to questions about the expenditures included within the bill is Dean Dr. Mark Kahn. He is the Dean of the UNLV School of Medicine. Let me tell you a little bit about Dean Kahn. He has served in leadership roles with the Association of American Medical Colleges, the American College of Physicians, the American Society of Hematology, the National Board of Medical Examiners, and the National Residency Matching Program. He is a hematologist and medical oncologist by training. Dr. Kahn was a senior associate dean at Tulane University School of Medicine before assuming his new position at UNLV in April of 2020 as the second dean of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. I'll turn it over to you, Dean Kahn. Thank you.
Brooks, and thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mark Kahn, K-A-H-N for the record, and I'm the Dean of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine and Vice President for Health Affairs at UNLV. I'd also like to share my colleagues' thanks to the Governor and INCHE for the support of our request. So the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine just graduated its third class several weeks ago. As many people in the room know, Nevada is a physician shortage state across every specialty and subspecialty. To help ameliorate some of that, we would like to increase our class size. In order to do that, we're going to need to increase the size of our faculty and increase some of the resources necessary for our students. Our accrediting body allows us to increase our class size by 10%. After that, we need specific approval. And for that, they're going to look for sufficiency of faculty and other resources. It's really that reason that we ask for this money. To put things into perspective, we have about 16 or 17,000 applications every year for 60 seats. This year, we are going to go up to 66 seats, and we have a plan to go to 90 students a class by 2030. It's for that that we need to augment our faculty and facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khan. Any additional comments, Dr. Brooks?
No, thank you.
Dr. Khan, would you turn off your microphone? We get feedback up here. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Senator Wynn.
Thank you, and thank you for that presentation. I look forward to this. This used to be in my Senate district and is just now right outside of my Senate district, but it is right in my backyard, so I'm very excited about this. And I was just hoping, this is probably a question for our fiscal staff. I know that this appears to look like a one-time allocation, and I was just hoping we could get some clarification from staff on why perhaps we have some of these changes. And if I can ask that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thorley.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. So the funding request for this item, the $9.2 million, came over in the governor's executive budget. It was not included in the operating budget request for the School of Medicine. It was instead sent over as a one-shot appropriation, however, still technically included in the governor's budget. You may recall the discussion from this morning regarding the managing of the fund balance that Director Stevenson from the GFO discussed. And so many items that would traditionally you all would see funded in the operating budgets of the various state agencies were instead requested as one-shot appropriations in order to spend down the fund balance in fiscal year 23.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. I know you've put that on the record multiple times now. I just want to make sure that it's clear that things that are traditionally incorporated in the budget were just done so to spend down some of those existing funds moving forward. And thank you, Chair, for the time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just say that while I recognize that this legislature cannot commit a future legislature to funding a specific project to or program, that we encourage the Nevada System of Higher Education and the UNLV Medical School to request this additional funding on an ongoing basis as an enhancement decision unit through the traditional biennial budget process. And these funds are necessary to support that continuous growth aligned with the original plan for the Kirk-Kerkorian School of Medicine. And as Dr. Khan mentioned, and we have all talked about the shortage of physicians in this state, what we can do to make sure that we have physicians is to educate them, have their residency be here, and encourage them to stay in this great state. So thank you very much. Any additional comments? Okay. Then with that, I will go to support for Senate Bill 457 here in Carson City. And go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez with the Nevada System of Higher Education. We'd like to thank Dean Khan and Dr. Brooks for their presentation, and we thank you for hearing this, and we urge your strong support of SB 357. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Chair. Paul Muratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of SB 457 for the financial allocation. We appreciate the work that's been done by the Governor's Office, this body, and we believe this investment is important to our future for our medical school in Southern Nevada. Thank you very much.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, Michael Flores with the University of Nevada, Reno. Both of our med schools work very closely and are happy to see the growth of the Krikorian School of Medicine and are here in full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the City of Las Vegas. The medical school sits in the Las Vegas Medical District in the heart of downtown Las Vegas. We urge support of these funds and are excited to have the medical school continue to expand. Thank you.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance. My shirt was in solidarity with the folks rallying outside, but it can be rebel red. We're in full support. Thank you.
Good job, Dr. Irvin.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Katie Ryan from Dignity Health St. Rose Dominican, for the record, here in support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional here in Carson City? All right, we'll go to Las Vegas. I don't think I see anyone but Dr. Khan at the table. And so we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer testimony in support of SB 457, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to offer testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition here in Carson City. We'll go to Las Vegas, and we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer opposition to SB 457, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to offer opposition at this time.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to neutral here in Carson City, Las Vegas, and phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to offer neutral testimony to SB 457, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to offer neutral testimony.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing. You know, like I said, somehow I want us to do something fun, but we'll just close the hearing. We had the fun before the hearing. And we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 457. Thank you, Dr. Khan, for your time this evening. And we will go to Senate Bill 226. And Senator Cannizzaro, just in time. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley. And I am here to present to you this evening Senate Bill 226, which revises various provisions related to public works. Madam Chair, this particular bill deals with where we have prevailing wage laws that will ensure that government dollars, when we are publicly funding projects for construction, that those particular dollars are going towards making sure that we have local wage and benefit standards. They prevent a race to the bottom when we're talking about how it is that we're paying workers here in our state. They support good paying jobs, and they provide taxpayer value for their dollars when they are spent on these publicly funded projects. This particular bill seeks to clarify where prevailing wage laws may apply. I would like to note that we did submit a proposed amendment, and what I will say first and foremost, joining me today is Vince Saavedra from the Southern Nevada Building Trades, and also Dan Musgrove, who will be available for any questions as well on behalf of the Southern Nevada Building Trades. We have had several stakeholder meetings. We've had a lot of conversations on this bill, many individuals involved. The bill in its first iteration, which is not the first reprint that's before you all today, was quite encompassing. We made several amendments on the Senate side, which were adopted before the bill came to your committee, Madam Chair. And we did submit an additional amendment that seeks to narrow this particular bill and what it would apply to and what projects it would apply to even further. And so I just want to ensure that members of the committee had also gotten a copy of that particular amendment. It is our intention to just walk very briefly through that particular amendment so we know exactly what the bill is talking about, because I also think that will be helpful for the fiscal note piece of this. And wanted to just make sure that you had received a copy of that.
Members, does everybody have a copy? Okay, yes, it is online. If you don't have it, if you would like a hard copy, we can get you one. All right, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with your permission, what we are intending to do, I think, and I'm going to keep it very brief, with Senate Bill 26 is to ensure that we are intending for those public dollars to be spent in accordance with Nevada's prevailing wage laws, that is occurring. And we have had some circumstances where that has been deviated from in an attempt to purposefully get around what would otherwise qualify as prevailing wage projects under the public works session, where there have been attempts to specifically get around that, mainly through the requirements and things that will happen around lease buyback pieces, but also some additional projects that would otherwise be subject to prevailing wage and public works, but that because of some intentional workarounds, even though there's public dollars going to those particular projects, they are circumventing what should be applying to those particular projects. And it's our intention to make sure that that's not the case, because that is not how the statute is designed, and that's not the purpose of our prevailing wage laws. What I would like to do is have Mr. Saavedra just walk very briefly through the amendment that's before the committee so you know exactly what pieces this is, and then I'll address in a bit more detail the fiscal notes. I believe that we should be joined also by the Labor Commissioner's Office, who had a fiscal note on this particular bill, and I think that some of that may be revised as well. And so with your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Saavedra.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Vince Saavedra. For the record, Vince, V-I-N-C-E, Saavedra, S-A-A-V-E-D-R-A, and I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer to the Southern Nevada Building Trades. I'm presenting the amendment to SB 226. As initially drafted, the bill was broader than we anticipated. The purpose of the bill was to prevent local government and agencies from creatively gifting lands and other things of value and lease buyback and development agreements to avoid paying prevailing wage. After discussing with numerous stakeholders and listening to their concerns, we have substantially modified the bill. The initial amendment to the bill adopted to the floor removed language concerning interpretation of prevailing wage laws consistent with Davis-Bacon. The reason for this was Labor Commissioner fiscal note specifically mentioned the cost of the interpretation language. The removal should take care of the fiscal note. The amendment presented today involves concerns raised by those who support affordable housing and concerns of Clark County. We have exempted multifamily affordable housing for 4 floors and below. This matches the Davis-Bacon rule at the national level. This also makes sense from a safety perspective because construction changes in materials and skills necessary when you build above 4 floors. We've also exempted all single-family housing at the request of the Southern Nevada Water Authority related to some programs they hope to put into place. Finally, the language will exempt airport authorities because of the concern with lease and return of the property to the authority upon expiration of the lease by tenants on the airport premises. We think this bill represents a great compromise among many groups and represents a step forward in ensuring good public policy as it concerns public works in the state of Nevada.
Madam Chair, there was a, Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. So there was a fiscal note that was submitted for the bill as introduced, which, as we mentioned, was much more comprehensive than what is before you today in the first reprint, and even what is before you with respect to this proposed amendment that we would intend to adopt to this bill to refine what it applies to a bit more as well. That particular fiscal note included personnel expenses, travel expenses, operating expenses, information services expenses that would require an additional deputy labor commissioner, one auditor, level 2, grade 34, one administrative assistant, level 3, grade 27, and one compliance auditor investigator, level 2, grade 33, and one compliance or audit investigator, level 3, grade 35. In some very brief conversations with the labor commissioner, I believe that there will be some reductions, if not a removal of this particular fiscal note with some of the amendments. That was again the fiscal note that was submitted in the bill as introduced. There were some local government pieces of that as well. I believe that some of those may also be reduced because, again, we have limited this bill to some very specific instances as it pertains to much larger affordable housing projects, and then also the lease buyback pieces, and that's what you see reflected in this amendment before you this evening. We would be happy to answer any questions that you or the committee may have, and then I believe that we should be joined by the Labor Commissioner as well, or someone from her office, in order to talk a bit more about that particular fiscal note that would be of concern to this committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We had some members who did not have the amendment, so we were trying to make sure everybody had it. It is on Nellis. It's Amendment 477. So if you do not see it, let us know. But it is, I just pulled it up, so I know it's there. All right, with that, do we have questions from the committee? I'll give you just a minute to read the amendment if you need to. Look. Senate 226, amendments.
I looked at ways.
Here it is, right here.
That's the old amendment.
Oh. Okay. All right, hang on. They've got the old amendment. We might need to have copies of the new amendment. Thank you. Mr. Thorley will email this to everybody, and we'll just take a little bit of a recess and a breather. So stay tuned. Okay, members, check your emails. It should be there. All right, members, have you had a chance to look at the amendment? Do you have questions, please? Any questions? Senator Neal, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the only difference in this amendment is the 4 or fewer floors?
Vince Savager for the record, and exempting single-family residents, single-family homes.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions or comments? Senator Goycochea.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at it, the amendment here. And then, of course, the first reprint of the bill as printed. And some of my rural constituents were very concerned about, as they read the bill, if they gifted a piece of property or granted a piece of property, say, to a Boys and Girls Club or some other NGO, then technically that would have triggered prevailing wage on that project. Is that still the way it is?
Depending on the circumstance, I would say the short answer would be yes, but it's all circumstantial on the value of the land. If it's, we're trying to close the loophole, so if it's less than fair market value, the answer would be yes. If it's fair market value, the answer would be no.
Mr. Saavedra, would you say your name for the record?
Vince Savager for the record, I apologize.
Yeah, and I think in most of these scenarios, again, it probably would have been less than fair market value to, and again, for an NGO or some other group like that, they were very concerned about it could hamper. And I see you've addressed some of the issues as far as low-income housing, but you know, even old folks' homes or some of this, even though they would be a private sector, again, these local governments are trying to bring those to the community, and we're afraid that maybe it would, in fact, with this language, it would be problematic for them. Again, land's not near as valuable in, say, Elko County and as it would be down in Las Vegas or Reno, but again, the project and the fact they need to build it, some of them, again, if they were a nonprofit or a non-government organization, they were concerned about having to pay prevailing wage on it. So, and that looks like you're saying that you think they would still be captured.
Vince Savager for the record, yes, and if that happens, I apologize in advance to the nonprofits.
Thank you very much. All right, any other comments? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the amendment on, I don't know what page this is, it has the single-family residential housing, so subject to the legally binding agreement piece. So were you intending on striking out the single-family resident because then it has Tier 1 affordable housing or Tier 2 affordable housing or single-family residential housing in green, then you get to the purple strikeout? Was single-family residential housing supposed to be struck? Because it's in.
Thank you for the question, Senator Neal. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. So I see what you are referring to in this language. I believe that the intent is that it would not include single-family residential housing. And so we'll clarify that because the intent was that it would be 4 floors and above, which is, which matches what will currently be subject under federal law, right, to the Davis-Bacon pieces, and that it wouldn't include that single-family housing. And so we'll clarify that piece because that was the intent of this particular amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments? All right, with that, I will go to those in support in Carson City. Those in support in Las Vegas, those in support online. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer support of SB 226 at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition here in Carson City. Opposition in Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Isaac Hardy, representing the Urban Consortium, which is made up of Reno, Sparks, Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. We are in opposition to this bill. Just speaking to the financial part of it, the fiscal notes on Nellis still stand. In some local governments, we're not able to calculate a fiscal note, but still acknowledge the fiscal impact. However, we are still working with the proponents on the policy side. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber, from the fiscal perspective, from the taxpayer side on SB 226, still has concerns and the impact it will have on local government. Of course, we'll review the newest amendment that's come out and see if it addresses those concerns. And if it does, we will notify the bill sponsor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the City of Las Vegas. The City of Las Vegas is one of the local governments that tried to calculate what the fiscal impact might be on this bill. So we still have a fiscal note on there. I don't see an amendment on Nellis. I haven't seen the language, so I'm going to send it out to my departments once it posts, and then hopefully we'll be able to contact the bill sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional opposition here in Carson City? Seeing none. Las Vegas? Seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral here in Carson City. Neutral in Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Brett Harris, Nevada Labor Commissioner. For the record, I just wanted to be here to answer any questions.
Any questions for the commissioner? Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I don't see any. Thank you. Neutral in the phone lines. Neutral on the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to offer neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. With that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 226, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 281. Senator Wynn, when you're ready, please go ahead.
Good evening, committee members. I am Rochelle Wynn, and I'm here to present Senate Bill 281. This is a bill that establishes a planning process for natural gas utilities. There is a fiscal note on there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. It is for the establishment of 2 positions within the Attorney General's office, and I believe they have representatives here that can answer any questions that this committee might have about the need for the expansion of that consumer protection piece through their office.
Okay, any questions on this particular bill? Give us just a minute, I think we're reading. Senator Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So currently, natural gas providers or gas providers, they file rate cases, but they don't do resource plans. Is that what? So this is a resource plan like electric utilities do?
It is very similar. Currently, natural gas utilities only have to do an annual informational filing, and this would put if this bill was to be enacted, it would put them into the similar process where they would submit their IRP or their natural gas planning filing once every 3 years, and then any subsequent amendments that they would need to throughout that interim time period. And so with the addition of that, instead of having just an informational filing, now they would have to go through the process. And so that would necessitate more work on behalf of the Attorney General's office through their Consumer Protection Bureau.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I see no more questions, and the fiscal notes stand. Is that correct?
The fiscal notes do stand. I did have the opportunity to speak with the Attorney General's office as well as the PUC, and their requests are in line with what I think they would need to be able to facilitate this new process.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, with that, seeing no questions from the committee, we will go to those in support of Senate Bill 281. Please come forward and please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Scott Leadham representing Southwest Gas. I wanted to say thank you to Senator Nguyen for being on this bill with us. We've been working on it for several months with her, with the PUCN, the environmental advocacy groups, and many others, and I think that we've come to a very good place on this bill. So obviously supportive of the policy side, but also supportive of the fiscal notes that are on there that we think will help the state agencies complete the work that they need to do if this bill were to pass. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Jessica Ferrato here tonight on behalf of Advance Energy United. We supported this bill in the Policy Committee and are here to support it in the Fiscal Committee as well. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Chair Don Darrow-Lupa and members of the committee. My name is Nick Schneider, representing the Vegas Chamber for the record. We are also in support of SB 281. We support on the policy side as well as the fiscal. Thank you so much.
For the record, my name is Terry Graves, representing Nevada Trucking Association, Nevada Manufacturing Association. To the extent that trucking is using natural gas for small vehicles and compressed natural gas for fuel, and manufacturing using natural gas for space heating and process heating as well as feedstock. So we're in support of this bill at the Senate and continue to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support here in Carson City? All right, seeing none, I don't see anybody in Las Vegas but the commissioner, and so we will go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer testimony for SB 281 at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition. Those in opposition in Carson City, in Las Vegas, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to offer opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to neutral here in Carson City, in Las Vegas, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to offer neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, any closing comments? Senator Nguyen. All right, with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 281, and we will go to the hearing on Senate Bill 380. Senator Nguyen, you're up again. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. Rochelle Nguyen for the record, representing Senate District 3, and I'm here and happy to present in Senate Finance, Senate Bill 380. This is a bill that extends a deadline for the state to apply for federal money, essentially to draw down some federal money for extended foster care programs. In doing so, some of you may recall that we actually took some of this out of the budget during the budget closing, so we would need to add this back in as we've extended the deadline into, I think we're looking at 2025, is that correct? And I do have a phone a friend here with Miss Marla McDade-Williams to be able to answer any more specific questions. But for the purposes of Senate Bill 380, we would need an appropriation, and so I am kind of making a, I guess, oral conceptual amendment. We would need an appropriation of $1,727,106 for the second year of the biennium for all entities to be able to establish the infrastructure for full implementation in 2025. We would also like language included that would require the department or DCFS to submit a state plan to the Children's Bureau by January 1, 2024. And again, we would still need the extension of time for the implementation, which is at the heart of the actual bill and the policy that came out of Senate Health and Human Services. And I think I said that correctly, but I will turn it over to Ms. McDade-Williams if she wants to add some clarifying information.
Senator Wynn, before you go, will you repeat that amount, please?
I will let her repeat it because she can break it up
Perfect.
as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Marla McDade-Williams, Deputy Director, Nevada Department of Health and Human Services. So I incorrectly led Senator Wynn down a wrong path. We are looking at $352,204 in the first year of the biennium and $1,374,902 in the second year of the biennium, for a total of $1,727,106. And as noted, those are costs to get us ready for full implementation of increasing the age for extended foster care, adoption subsidies, and all of the other components that are required to be included if we make the expansion for the deadline of January 1st, 2025. So we would have to come back during the next session of the legislature for a full budget for full implementation, and we will continue to work with the counties to develop those costs and make sure that we're all on the same page. Just for further clarification, the appropriation in the first year of the biennium is for contract staff, and in the second year it would be for permanent staff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Additional comments from either one of you?
Just to clarify, I think when Senator Orenshaw brought this bill in 2021, we didn't realize that in order to fully implement this, you couldn't just do this for certain populations. You couldn't just pick foster care or just adoptions. It had to be for throughout the system. So to fund foster care, extended foster care, adoption subsidies through the age of 21 in order to maximize and draw down this money from, to allow for the fully funding of this program. So these are just some corrections. It buys us some more time to be able to do that. And that is it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Senator Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so those are funds just to be able to set the program up. And then is it, if I look at the other fiscal note, about $10 million a year to be able to run it? And you're anticipating that would be to the next biennium because it won't get set up until the end of this biennium or going into the next one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Marla McDade-Williams. So we anticipate that the effect on future biennia is over $28 million, and $17,333,627 of that would be general fund. And then it would be matchable from Title IV-E funding from the federal government. And that is entitlement funding, so as we spend our money, they will match the money that we spend.
So thank you. If I can just go over that again. So the dollars you just talked about is to set up the program, but we probably can't start the program this biennium. And once we start the program, it's sort of your typical match of like 66, 67%. And so the total cost you said was about $28 million, but the general fund's about $7 million on future biennia?
17 million.
17, okay.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional questions or concerns from the committee? All right, seeing none, I'll go to support for Senate Bill 380 here in Carson City.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, representing Washoe County, here in support of Senate Bill 380. And to clarify that our original fiscal note essentially has been removed with the revised version of the bill, and that a small portion, well, a portion of the funds that you just heard about in that overall number would come to Washoe County for our cost to be ready to go live on July 1 of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support here in Carson City? In Las Vegas, BPS, phone lines when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer testimony in SB 380 at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition here in Carson City. In Las Vegas, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to offer opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to neutral here in Carson City, neutral in Las Vegas, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to offer neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. Any closing remarks, Senator? All right, with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 380, and we will go to Senate Bill 301. Senator Lang, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, I'm Roberta Lang, representing Senate District 7 in Clark County, and today we're going to talk about Senate Bill 301, and it revises provisions to governing public works, and I have with me Randy Saltero.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, this bill has been amended. The first reprint should be on Nellis and available to you. I just want to thank actually Senator Gogachia for his guidance and when we were doing the amendment. I appreciate your input on this amendment and the version that is the first reprint. The fiscal note that's there before you from I believe the Labor Commissioner's office, total of $184,192 in fiscal year 2023-24 and fiscal year 24-25 of $313,725. We believe that may should be adjusted just because we have amended this to narrow the scope of the work that actually would be covered under this bill.
Would you repeat that amount, please?
The executive agency fiscal note for the Labor Commissioner. I know the Labor Commissioner is available today, but fiscal year 2023-24, 184-192, and fiscal year 24-25, 313-725. And the description for those persons that would need. Again, we feel that it could be adjusted because we have widely narrowed the scope of what this bill would cover.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure the numbers that I had in front of me were what you were referring to. So thank you very much for repeating those. All right. Any additional comments? Any additional or any questions or comments from the committee? All right. We'll excuse you and we'll go to those in support here in Carson City. Las Vegas, on the phone lines, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, but however, there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we'll go to opposition here in Carson City.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Enos. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, tonight in opposition to Senate Bill 301. I'm blessed to represent an industry that moves 95.3% of all the freight in Nevada, and because of that, we do about 9% of miles on all our roadways, and in doing that, we pay about 40% of all the state and federal highway taxes. And we believe that the cost of doing these projects, prevailing wage for truck drivers who are delivering asphalt and concrete and aggregate, is going to increase that cost of all those projects. And it's going to increase the cost of those projects at a time when we need more infrastructure. We're actually going to be getting less. So we do think that this is going to be a big fiscal hit to the state. We know it's a fiscal hit to a lot of the small DBEs in the private sector, but we do feel that this is going to have a detrimental impact on our ability to be able to deliver more projects and more infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Isaac Hardy, representing the Urban Consortium, which is made up of Reno, Sparks, Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. We are in opposition, and I will keep it brief. I just want to echo the comments I made during my testimony of SB 226. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional opposition here in Carson City? Seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Seeing none, we'll go to BPS on the phone lines when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to provide opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to neutral here in Carson City. Las Vegas, go ahead, please.
Good evening, Brett Harris, Nevada Labor Commissioner. For the record, just wanted to be here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Senator Wynn.
I just want to thank the Labor Commissioner for her dedication. I know it's a big night tonight with Vanderpump Rules finale, and I want to make sure she can get to that in time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I will make it.
If we would have known that, we would have really sped through this. Thank you. All right, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, neutral.
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to provide neutral comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. No closing comments? Then we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 301, and we will go to, we're skipping Senate Bill 426. We've moved it, just in case you came in late, to Friday. We're going to Senate Bill 435. Ms. Weeks, we see you, so stand by. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Richard Whitley, and I serve as the Director for the Department of Health and Human Services. And with me remotely is Stacy Weeks, who serves as the Administrator for Nevada Medicaid. I'm here to present SB 435 as amended in Senate Health and Human Services. The bill relates to implementation of a private hospital tax requested by the Nevada Hospital Association on behalf of hospital members, pursuant to NRS 422.3794. The bill serves to implement the provider tax by permitting DHHS to share a portion of the revenue from an assessment with operators not subject to paying the assessment if such use is supported in a poll by the majority of operators who must pay the assessment. The provision being proposed is important because it changes the supplemental payments to private hospitals in the state, and it it may result in the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to evaluate all of our supplemental payment programs currently supporting the rural critical access hospitals. Although the risk is low, it is here, and the majority of hospitals do have to support this voluntary tax. And so this bill would serve to protect or hold harmless those hospitals. There's a second part to this bill that we amended in Senate Health and Human Services, and it sets aside up to 15% of revenues collected from the tax for two purposes. The first is to cover the state share of the premium tax and the cost to administer the program. But the second purpose is to support our efforts to improve access to community-based behavioral health services and reduce the burden on hospital ERs and intervene early to reduce facility-based care. In October of 2022, the U.S. Department of Justice substantiated a complaint due to overutilization of children's behavioral health care in a residential setting. Working with the Attorney General's office, we are having weekly negotiations with the Department of Justice on the improvements of children's behavioral health services within Medicaid in order to reach a settlement. We know we will need to add some services and also raise rates for some of the community-based services in order to resolve this substantiated complaint. This will require us to also do evaluation and to actually show that the community-based services are indeed preventing the crisis care in emergency rooms and the utilization of facility-based care. And it will also require us to continue to have attorney oversight for compliance with the agreement. We would bring this 15% set aside and the actual, again, I would just say up to 15% to IFC in the interim. We still don't have at this point a firm figure from our consultants on the amount of funding that this tax will bring in for revenue for the supplemental payment for the hospitals. And that is why we would go to interim finance with a more detailed plan. I would say that since we offered, when we introduced the bill, an amendment, you know, this is not an easy task. This is a voluntary tax that's been actually in statute for some time. The hospitals are the first provider group to take advantage of it. And if you can imagine, all the hospitals have to agree to do this. 67% of them have to be in agreement. And so I'm really grateful that the Hospital Association has been able to bring everyone together and conceptually reach that agreement. But they did offer an amendment to the bill that we do not oppose. I believe it is in Nellis. It's a minor change, but I think it's more of a protection for their members. And I think Mr. Wadhams is here and could speak to it. But I think you can see that really they've made a commitment to their members, and if anything is altered, we would need to go back and actually re-poll the providers because we would make a change. They need to agree with how we're spending these resources, and they seem to be in agreement with the use of the 15% for the costs, as well as for to administer the program, and also for the behavioral health piece. But happy to have Mr. Wadhams join me if that's your preference.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Wadhams, if you would like to join us and talk a little bit about the proposed amendment, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Madam Chair, good evening. Jesse Wadhams for the record with the Nevada Hospital Association. For a moment there, I was sure hoping you were going to call in the other Mr. Wadhams.
You know, I did have a little bit of a hard time saying Mr. Wadhams, but we got there, so take it.
Thank you for that. Again, Jesse Wadhams for the record. Director Whitley did an excellent job of sort of summarizing what the amendment does. Ultimately, with the provider tax, the Nevada hospitals will become partners with the state in serving our Medicaid populations. And what we are looking for is some level of stability, some level of, I guess, ongoing commitment to a type of program. And so what our amendment would do, and obviously I leave it to your legal team to maybe wordsmith my words a little bit more, but it would essentially say that if the program is changed, that it becomes a new program, and that would then require another vote of the hospitals to move forward with a new program. Happy to answer any questions to the extent, but it is that simple. It is intended to create a revote for any new program change.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. Mr. Wadhams, don't let that go to your head. And we will go to support here in Carson City when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Kelly. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Hospital Association. We support this bill, and we've been working with the director and DHS CFP to develop this private hospital Medicaid provider agreement. And I'd just like to publicly thank Director Whitley and Administrator Weeks for the fantastic work that they've done and the great partnership we have in working on this. As many of you know, Medicaid doesn't cover all the costs of the care we provide to Medicaid patients. Hospitals receive approximately 51% of our total cost to care for our Medicaid patients. This program will help defray some of those costs, but unfortunately will not cover all of them. In our development of the program, some public hospitals, which will not be part of the Medicaid provider fee program, express concern. They're worried that their supplemental payment programs might be adversely affected. While we don't believe that will happen, we're happy to support the protections in this bill. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Blaine Osborne, Nevada Rural Hospital Partners. Yesterday, you heard a great bill that will help the rural critical access hospitals. Today, you're hearing a great bill that will ensure we don't accidentally harm the rural critical access hospitals. And if we can do that while ensuring we get the votes from the operator group to get a provider assessment stood up, and at the same time also increase access to behavioral health care in the state, then that is a really good thing. We're strongly in support. Appreciate Director Whitley and Administrator Weeks for all of their work. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Chair Dondera Loop, Dan Musgrove representing the Valley Health System of Hospitals. Me too.
Good evening, Chair Dondera Loop and committee members. Chris Bossi here tonight representing Renown Health for the record. Really appreciate all the collaborative work with Medicaid, the governor's office, and all the stakeholders to pay attention to the details to ensure that we're able to implement this important program. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Dondera Loop, members of the committee, Connor Kane on behalf of Sunrise Hospital and Sunrise Children's Hospital. We are also in support, and we think this is an important investment, not only in services, but also in our Medicaid recipients and their well-being. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Katie Ryan with Dignity Health St. Rose Dominican, also here in support. Thank you.
Okay, any additional support here in Carson City? Seeing none in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready for support.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to provide support at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition here in Carson City, in Las Vegas. BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers wishing to provide opposition at this time.
All righty, we'll go to neutral here in Carson City and Las Vegas, and BPS when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, any closing remarks, Director? All righty. Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 435. And with that, we have completed our bills for this evening. So we will go to public comment. And a reminder, you will dial 888-475-4499. And when prompted, the meeting ID is 860-7715-6135, and then press pound. When asked for the meeting participant ID, please press pound. Thank you very much. BPS, do we have anyone for public comment?
The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we will see you all at 8 a.m. in the morning for another round of Senate Finance. This meeting is adjourned.